because this is one of the things that I've been learning about recently. That it's a matter of mindset and being willing to step out of the usual things that you're doing, that will enable you to grow and learn and be able to become a better person and to do more things. And when I apply that to my activism, yeah. When I went to Pagan Pride, I think that was a success for me. Even though I didn't get the chance to give out the leaflets that I'd specifically written for the festival, because I was so busy with the marshalling and giving out the hugs. But yeah, I'd say it was a success, even in the sense that I have learned something about how to interact with a community of people who may not be activists, may not even believe the same things as me, but they're extensional on certain things. So those are the things that should be capitalised on, as it were. And I say to them, well, how about this and how about that? I mean, one of the things that I said on one of the flyers was that if we truly care about Mother Earth, why are we supporting a so-called economic system that destroys her ecosystem? And that's really, one question that I would pose to any pagans listening to this, that if you do care about the earth, don't you think it's about time that we started supporting a socio-economic paradigm that falls in line with natural law? Because as any pagan will be able to reassure you, that you have no freedoms outside of the laws of nature. We recognise that in the Zeitgeist movement, that natural law is the overarching law, as it were, that we know about right now. I mean, there might come a time in the near future or distant future where we realise there's another set of laws, outside of the laws of nature, But until we know that for sure, we can't justify a belief in it, because where's the evidence for it? That's why a scientific approach is better, because it only gives you what we can actually ascertain as true at that point in time. But yeah, I mean, I would consider the whole thing a success. It was brilliant giving out so many hugs. I met so many awesome people. People were so damn friendly, and I can't wait to see. Especially there's a select few of them that I can't wait to see again, because I'm definitely going to be going up to Nottingham, and I might as well use this time towards the end of the podcast, because I think we've only just gone over an hour, so I might as well go into this. This is one thing that I sort of alluded to towards the end of my Pagan Pride talk, because I didn't have the rest of the video. I instead just put in a photo that I took the day before, on the 2nd of August, when I was going around the town centre. Nottingham has a speaker's corner, right? And that got me thinking, Maidstone doesn't have a speaker's corner. Maidstone, where I go to do my thing. And apparently I've heard that there's some old law that basically entitles any population centre, I think, to actually have a speaker's corner. Apparently that is a right if in some sort of community. So I'm going to be looking into that, and whenever I go to somewhere that I'm going to be doing some activism stuff, because I'm going to be doing another free hugs video in the coming months. How about if I go to different places where, if they have a town centre that is big enough and conducive to maybe megaphone activism or something of that nature, maybe I should go to their respective councils and apply to have a speaker's corner established there. And this is something that all of you can try and do. I mean, look up any sort of pieces of your local legislation or whatever that is required to establish the facts about what you can do for this sort of thing, and see if you can get a speaker's corner established near you. And not just that, but encourage others to utilise it. Encourage others in your... I mean, I'm going to go to places that I've never been before, apply for the establishment of a speaker's corner, and if it's successful, I will use it and say, look guys, this is your local speaker's corner. I urge all of you, as many of you as you like, come and use this space. Communicate with people. This is an outlet now. You've got a forum, so use it. You know. I mean, that's like one of the new projects that I've lumped on myself now. It's not just doing films and radio plays and podcasts and free hugs videos, but also a campaign to establish more speakers' corners in the UK. But yeah, I mean, this shows exactly what I'm talking about with the talk that I gave at Pagan Pride. Do things that you're not familiar with. Go into new territories in both your thinking and your behaviour and your values. Do new things. Mix it up. Make your life interesting. And this is the thing, right? For those of you who work a job that you absolutely hate, and in your spare time you do things to try and make the world better, this is another thing that can really make your activism fun. Yeah? You got to have fun with this sort of thing. If you're not enjoying the task of making the world a better place, then please stop doing it. Okay? I mean, either that or try to find ways to start enjoying it. Because if you're not enjoying it, then what's the point? If you're not enjoying it, then you're really doing it for the same reasons that you're, kind of the same reasons that you're doing your job. It's just something unpleasant that you're doing, that you don't have a passion in and that you're not enjoying. And why do it then? You know? But I urge as many people as possible to sort of become activists, because the world needs them. You know, it really does. There's a severe shortage of white blood cells in the, as it were, in the human species. It's like I consider myself a neutrophil or something. You know, I'm just one neutrophil among many other neutrophils. You know, we may not constitute right now a huge mass of the human population, but we're still here. You know, and you know, like I said earlier, things are getting bad. You know, I mean, there was a picture I saw on Facebook the other day. I think there was a Palestinian woman. She was holding a big sign. It said, I can't remember exactly what it said, so I'll have to paraphrase it. But it said that when we need thousands of people to protest to say that bombing children is not okay, then we know the system doesn't work, or something like that. It was something along those lines. I probably butchered it, so I do apologise for butchering the phrasing of your sign. But it's a very valid point. We've gotten to the point where we are looking the other way when babies are being bombed. Okay? We're looking the other way, not necessarily because we really truly feel that it's okay to do that, but because we are too scared to stand up and actually say, no, that is not okay. I don't agree with this. I do not consent to this. I do not give my sanction or my support, and in fact, I stand in opposition to it. I stand in active opposition to the slaughter of innocent children. It doesn't matter if it's in another country. It does not matter if it's in another country, because that kind of thing, the kind of thinking of like, not caring about something if it's not happening in your country, that's one of the best ways to sort of allow the problem to get big enough for it to spread, and if it does spread, it can likely spread to where you live. So allowing this sort of thing can in some cases necessarily lead to the spread of it everywhere. It's the fact that that so many problems that we have are widespread because they are shared by the greater part of the population, because things are getting bad enough to affect more and more and more and more people all the time. And the fact that we've become so scared and so it's really Stockholm syndrome, really, that we're experiencing as a culture. We're defending the current paradigm because we've been made to feel too scared to stand up and say, no, I don't agree with it. I don't want this. I want it to change. We've become too scared as a society to actually say that and do and embody that. Tell you what, there's a phrase that I learned from Mark Passio called apophasis. It's apophasis means the act of saying no, and it's one thing that he alluded to when he reviewed the Matrix trilogy. It's one thing that came up towards the end of the first film, where Neo was shot dead, was revived by Trinity. He stood up, the agents started to unload on him, and he just said no and put his hand up. And from then he was actually able to impart control of the Matrix, because he had said the word no, and from then on the agents had no power over him. And he was able to just, even with one hand, just block all of Agent Smith's punches. So yeah, the idea of apophatic action is very important and very much needed in our society. It's very, very, very much needed. It doesn't matter who it comes from. Any kind of apophatic action against the establishment of the infinite growth paradigm is a good thing. And it should not be criminalised. It should not be ridiculed. It should be encouraged, because that kind of thing is partly what can make this world a better place. I mean, that's why I went round the Pagan Pride Festival giving out free hugs, because it's sharing compassion with people, sharing the idea that yes, I'm a happy person. I'm a positive person, and I am inviting you, if you so wish, to share some compassionate physical contact. I'm secure enough in myself and in my sexuality to know that I can hug a person and not get uncontrollably aroused, because it's not a sexual thing. I'm just, giving someone a hug, and it's showing that, I care for you as a fellow human being. That's what it's about. And yes, it does take bravery to do that sort of thing. But as I said earlier, it's, that's me going into, it's not necessarily always me going into stretch, because I've been a hug dealer for several years now. So I'm much more, at ease with walking around with a free hug sign. Because, at first there was like a big barrier that I had to get over when people see the sign and it's something foreign, and people are more, especially in general society, people are more inclined to sort of think that's a bit weird and funny, and they might laugh at it and think that it's dumb or something negative. And I used to get bogged down, because I'm putting myself out there. It's almost like I'm standing out in the middle of the high street, like wearing a really silly costume, and I'm like standing there saying, "Look at me! Look how much of an idiot I am! I'm doing something unusual. So point at me and laugh. That is how I used to think that what I was doing when I first started. That's how I thought that I kept being received. But now I just don't care. If they see it and have a negative reaction to it, then that just amuses me now. It doesn't get me down. I do not take it personally. And stopping taking things personally also is a very big aspect to this value system shift that we need, because when you present information that is contrary to the official narrative, as it were, people will react a little bit negatively to that sort of thing. So, and the best way to respond to that sort of thing is with a cool, calm, and collected approach. To sort of just be objective and be understanding as to why they believe, because we can know, given the kind of responses that people give to contrary information that exposes the flaws of a status quo, we know what kinds of reactions they give, and we know why they give those reactions. I've covered this sort of thing time and time again, of why people react against alternatives to the monetary system. It's partly because they've been taught to identify with it, and thus to discredit the system is to discredit them on a personal level, and thus they respond accordingly. Their defensive walls go up, their cognitive dissonance sort of comes in, and people feel uncomfortable with that sort of thing because they've been taught not to question things. But yeah, getting over that sort of thing, and I'm going to be closing this off now because I have been rambling for a while, and I should just bring this to some sort of real coherent close. But yeah, the idea is to just go out and do things, right? If you're listening to this right now, think of something to do and go out and do it. This world is not going to improve itself. It needs us to actually do something about it, because we have the ability now. We have the ability to either wipe ourselves out or to create a life worth living. Not just surviving within, but a life actually, lived to the full. Because we would have created the kind of living conditions where we can all have a high standard of living. Isn't that something that would appeal to all of us? Isn't that something that, we should all at least be in, mental agreement with? At least mentally? If you don't have the bravery to go out and actually communicate this sort of thing in any fashion, at least don't support the current system and don't oppose a viable alternative. And I'd say, because that applies to quite a few people that they personally would not go out there and basically allow themselves to be identified as, a troublemaker, or there's one thing I've heard Jeremy Vine talk about people who protest because they're troublemakers because he was referring to the striking teachers as troublemakers purely because their industrial action causes a disruption to a system of the establishment that requires to keep going, because that is really the economic slave factory, our school system, or what should be called the fool system. If the teachers who are enforcing this establishment indoctrination refuse to work because they're being underappreciated. I mean, I would say that teaching is one of the most compassionate and important professions that exists. And you're damn right. People should, respect that kind of thing and actually engage that sort of thing. Right now, I am being a teacher because I'm giving out information that some people may not have, and thus, inspiring an educational process in their brain. We're all teachers. Every single thing we do, that we expose another person to, or that something we create in the environment that inevitably people are exposed to, we are teaching them something. Even if it's like, someone giving an insult, that's teaching that person that you've insulted that you wanted to insult them, or that you did insult, or that you had an insult for them. Everything that we do is education. The only thing is, we need to be teaching people how to think, not what to think. But I'm going to be, closing out this podcast now because I'm really starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel with my ramblings. But anyway, as I said, you can, for those of you listening to this on YouTube, look down in the video description and click the link for the call series, and there you can download the MP3 for free. This podcast was sponsored by the Dark Age calendar, a calendar that can help you really prepare for the coming ignorance. So go to your local cave region and see if there's a branch near you, so you can get your stone tablet and get it updated every day. Unfortunately, you will have to travel there, but come on, people, we need to revert back to previous primordial methods. As for next month, I'm not sure again what I'm going to be doing. I'm hoping to have another guest on to interview, because lately it has been a lot of podcasts with just me talking, and as such they haven't been extremely long, because unless I have a huge amount of stuff a huge amount of notes to go through, then I just start rambling, and I sometimes I do sense whether the quality of what I'm saying actually can be maintained if I'm just rambling. But that aside, I'd like to thank you all for listening, and hope you all have a good one. So take care, guys. Bye bye.